Jessica Brown is a 21-year-old media student at the University of Cumbria. Campaigning for a Yes to AV, we caught up with Jess on a busy Saturday afternoon, campaigning hard in Carlisle city centre, to get our thoughts on the referendum.
I know a lot of Conservatives are against it, but there is Conservative MPs that are for it, and there's Labour MPs that are against it, so it's very mixed through all the parties. For people that hate Lib Dems, one woman stopped to talk to me and said that she was a member of the Labour Party and that she didn't want AV because she hated Nick Clegg, and and it's well, that's just a really pathetic reason. It's not a case of I don't like Lib Dems, therefore I don't want it. It's a case of I want a fairer democracy. It shouldn't be because people don't like the Lib Dems. No wasted votes, no need to tactically vote. I think in Parliament now, a third of MPs have less than 50% of backing from their constituents. With this, every MP is going to need 50%. I think it's going to go right through from MPs in Parliament, and when they're backing the constituents, they're going to have to work a lot harder to gain more votes with people. So they're going to have to, be a lot more accountable. And I think it'll make a big difference to democracy. Yeah, I mean, the majority of people are just apathetic. They don't know what it is, or they'll just kind of laugh and think, "What is this?" They don't know it's a serious referendum that's going on. They just think it's some kind of crazy campaign or something. I think the general consensus is people don't know what it is. Because we live in a democracy, it's about time we were democratic. I think not enough people actually really consider how unfair the first past the post is. They'll think, I'm going to vote for Labour or whatever, my vote will count, and that's not necessarily true.
Jessica was joined by Green Party candidate John Reardon. John talked to us about how a vote for AV could potentially change the political system in Britain.
The first thing to say is that it's an opportunity to get change. Clearly the political system's broken, and this is an opportunity to do something about it. The second reason is that it will allow voters to have more choice, and it will mean not just one person, one vote, but one person, one vote, one value. So I think one thing I would say about AV is it's not my first choice. It's not an ideal system. My own preference is for a more proportional system, but it is a small change that will make a significant difference to how politics operates in Britain. I think one of my experiences last year is that from a personal point of view in the general election is that a lot of people said we'd like to vote Green, and I know that some candidates from the other smaller parties had said that they had people saying they'd like to vote Socialist, they'd like to vote Independent or whatever, but we want to stop either the Conservatives or the Labour Party, and they voted tactically. AV would end tactical voting altogether, and it would allow people to express the first preferences. Now, tactical voting is something that I don't agree with, but I do understand the reasons why people do it, and I think that AV would just end that completely, and it would allow people to express their first choice. People aren't talking about AV on the streets. They're not having a conversation about electoral reform, but what they might be having conversations about are feeling disconnected from the political system. There's an absolute crisis of legitimacy in the political system. If the Yes campaign can connect that to a yes vote in the AV referendum, they might win it. I mean, I think it'll be a very, very difficult referendum to win. I think it'll be very, very tough, but it can be done if those connections can be made. If you can connect people's apathy and discontent at the political system with the need for a yes vote, then I think it's a referendum win is there for the taking.
Sadly for John and Jess, their AV campaign for a fairer system failed, and the no vote carried by over 2-1, with 69% of Cumbrians saying no, which begs the question, where were all the Lib Dems, and why was it left to a handful of volunteers to drum up support for the yes vote in Carlisle?